My self-esteem hasn't always been good. Poor self-esteem is basically a canon event for anybody who really liked Naruto in the early 2000s and got shoved into lockers for it. You probably get told all the time the importance of having good self-esteem, but what I don't think gets talked about enough is why it's important and what will happen to you if you don't have it. Hi, I'm Kamikaze Shortbus, and about 10 or so years ago, I got divorced. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell does it have to do with anything? Well, a lot, actually. I've been doing a lot of dating advice streams lately, twitch.tv/kamikazeshortbus, and I couldn't help but notice some of you have some pretty bad self-esteem. And it's quite a detrimental character flaw you got there. It's really attractive to the kinds of people that would love to take advantage of somebody who doesn't have the self-respect to leave when things start to get really dicey. And that was the exact situation I found myself in roughly a decade ago. The abbreviated version of this story is I got married to an emotionally abusive Hitler sympathizer, and it took me 4 entire years to leave. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jesus Christ, Mika, how did it take you 4 years to leave a guy that hated Jews and black people? Isn't your mom black? Yeah, that's the fun part. That's what low self-esteem will do to you. It tricks your brain into believing that you're lucky to have what you have, and that it's your duty to stay with this person because nobody else will ever put up with you. Huh? Huh? What's what? Oh, that! Yeah, so this is still technically an art channel, so we gotta keep things at least somewhat art-related, so that's my little story time avatar buddy. So it's gonna be like Jaden Animations, except instead of a heartwarming story of personal growth, we're gonna talk about codependent relationships and the Holocaust.
No, Mika! Don't talk about your ex-husband like that. That's mean. Don't you want your channel to have broad appeal? Don't drag a man who can't defend himself. Denying the Holocaust isn't even a good reason to call a man a psychopath. These damn women and their fake abuse claims.
Bro, shut the fuck up. First of all, there's an equipment testing stream VOD up on my channel right now, where I'm eating watermelon in my bathtub while wearing clown paint. Do you really think I give a shit if my YouTube channel has broad appeal? No! Remember kids, free will implies the existence of paid, subscription-based will, and as a certified broke-ass bitch, I ain't paying for dick. Second of all, this video isn't simply about dragging my ex-husband. This isn't a call to action. I'm not gonna refer to him by name. I don't even know if he's still alive. He seems like the kind of person that you, like, check up on Facebook, and all you find is, like, an obituary. This video is about my experience dealing with somebody that I wouldn't have otherwise tolerated if I liked myself at the time. And, if he doesn't like the things that I have to say about him, he probably should have treated me like a human being instead of a mommy therapist, emotional punching bag waitress. So oil up. I got a wild one for you. Hey, this is Editing Mika from the future. A few hours before I'm meant to release this video, and your boy's got her first affiliate link for ExpressVPN. If you want an easy way to increase your privacy online while also supporting the channel, click my affiliate link in the description down below.
Thanks, bye!
The year is 2012, and I, at the ripe old age of 20, had never been in a relationship before. I hated this about myself. While most of my friends were on their 3rd or 4th boyfriend, I was a weird, chubby, weeaboo loser who'd never made that sort of mutual connection with anyone. I wasn't sure what made me so absolutely disgusting, but if it was about my appearance, I knew there were a few things I could try to do something about it, so I got really into weightlifting. I thought maybe if I went from being flabby and mid to weirdly shredded and mid, someone would have to love me. People don't care about your personality if you're an unfuckable goblin. If you're not attractive, you might as well just give up and go, like, live in a sewer or something, and apologize to people every time they make eye contact with you. So swole I became, and it amounted to, you guessed it, 0 fucking boyfriends, and then an additional passive patched into my body dysmorphia debuff. I was no longer just ugly, but now my muscles were never big enough when I looked in the mirror. Maybe that wasn't it. Maybe I was being too hard on myself. Maybe it wasn't because I was hideous. Maybe it was because I just didn't get out often enough. and if I did get out, it's not like I would strike conversations up with anybody. So I did the only thing I could at the time to let my personality shine without it getting ruined by having Asperger's. I joined a dating website. Notice how I didn't say dating app. This was a long time ago and I'm old. Dating apps weren't invented yet. I joined OkCupid, the website. Dating websites were completely different from what they are today. It wasn't about swiping quickly based off of looks alone. You had like a 70-question personality test that grouped you around based on hobbies, interests, and lifestyle convictions, and rather than being shown one person at a time that you had to make an immediate deduction about before you could see the next person, you were showed a gallery of people local to you sorted by personality relevance. So naturally, when filling out my profile bio, I put in a few inside jokes in order to hopefully attract people I had something in common with. I was an avid lurker of the 4chan fit board at the time, so as one of my interests, I put squats and oats. And that's how he found me. Another fit shitposting enthusiast was messaging me, asking me what my 1 rep max squat was. And for the first time in my life, somebody that I was interested in was interested in me. Maybe I wasn't as unsightly and as boring as I thought I was. My parents did not take this information well. They didn't think this was the slam dunk Christmas miracle that I thought it was. This was some stranger online who could very easily be a dangerous little pervert looking to connect with some idiot that didn't know any better. And they were technically right, but I didn't figure that one out until about 4 years later. My parents didn't think I'd ever actually meet this dude because he lived 6 hours away from me in Nevada. So they just told me to stop talking to him. So in my naturally defiant fashion, I ignored everything I was being told. I made secret arrangements to get on a Greyhound bus to see this man because I was simping hard before that was even a word that people used all the time. I ran away from home to do this, and about halfway into my journey, my helicopter parents figured out what I was doing and filed a kidnapped persons report against me, and the cops were waiting for me at the next bus stop. And so was he. Like I said, I'm not going to name this guy. I'm not even going to draw him properly. I don't remember what he looks like, and I'm not going to scour Facebook to check. So we're gonna call him Mr. Husband, and we're gonna draw him as a generic male.png. Thanks for that one, Milko. So there, nested amongst many policemen trying to intimidate him, was my Mr. Husband. He, well, the first thing I noticed was that he was kind of ugly in person, and as is tradition for every man on a dating website ever dating back even before the Tinder days, he lied about his height. We were the same height. I'm not a girl that cares about height, but I really wish men would stop lying about this shit. I'm gonna find out anyway if we go out on a date. But none of that shit really mattered to me, as I had already spent about 3 months simping for this guy online, and I thought we had a genuine connection, and mentally I was already picking out names for our kids. The cops ended up not being able to do anything about this situation because we were both legal adults, so Mr. Husband was not, in fact, a sex offender like my mom told them that he was, so we went ahead and continued on our date, and it was really nice, and at the end of it, he told me he loved me, and I was over the moon about it. Of course, I didn't realize how much of a red flag that was at the time. This was my first anything ever. I thought I was like getting the Disney princess fairy tale treatment with the guy telling me that he loved me after 90 minutes. Love bombing? Anxious attachment style? Bitch, that shit wasn't invented yet. This was 2012. There's no therapy TikTok. Back in my day, we raw-dogged our toxic relationships for 15 miles in the goddamn snow and we liked it. So naturally, I did the only thing I could have in that situation. I moved in with him a month later.
But Mika, it sounds like all of your wounds so far are self-inflicted.
Yeah, sure, I was pretty naive. But just because I'm naive doesn't give somebody the right to take advantage of me. Okay? Point of this, again, for those of you who have selective listening problems, this is a cautionary tale. Do not do this. Learn from my mistakes. If somebody tells you on the first date that they're in love with you, you need to run. Away from them. Not with them. At first, living with Mr. Husband was a dream come true. I got to see a person I loved every day. It was like a permanent sleepover. How cool was that? And it was great until I found out that empathy was a major part of this man's brain, that was simply missing. So I have this condition called endometriosis. Long story short, it makes my menstrual cycle feel like I'm being beaten to death by hammers and slowly bleeding out once a month. One time I'd collapsed on the kitchen floor from the pain. I was in tears and in so much pain that I could barely speak and I definitely couldn't walk. Mr. Husband found me there. He looked down at me. I did my best to say, "Please, bed, take me to the bed," hoping he would carry me to the bed. He was certainly more than strong enough. Instead, he just looked at me confused, and then he scoffed. He grabbed a glass from the cabinet, poured water in it, and went to bed by himself. I lied there for another 3 excruciating hours. When the pain finally subsided, I got up and walked to the bedroom. "Hey, how come you didn't carry me to bed? Or like, bring me Advil or water, or even ask me what was wrong?" It's not my problem. What am I supposed to do? Rub your p until you feel better? Get over yourself. I was completely blindsided by that comment. Nobody in my life had ever said anything that cruel to me before, not even my worst middle school bullies. But of course, the low self-esteem in my brain whispered to me, "Bro, of course it's your fault. Why did you even ask him? You're pissing him off. Do you want him to break up with you?" So I said, "Oh, my bad." Then I made it a point to exercise more than usual so that the stress on my body would stop me from getting periods. There were a lot of little mishaps like this where I would come to Mr. Husband with an issue only to be met with dismissal. Obviously I wanted to study art so I could become a 3D artist or an animator. Mr. Husband asked me, "Why? You're not even good." Again, crushing my spirit. "You'll never make it," he said. I think this criticism was born out of some sort of inferiority complex, since Mr. Husband didn't really have any ambition outside of getting really jacked. He was a cab driver, and then he quit being a cab driver because he hated that. And then he wanted to be a firefighter for a little while, but he was too short. And then he saw me, and he saw the light in my eyes whenever I geeked out over Pixar's greatest hits, and it was a fire that he couldn't recreate in his own heart, so instead, he opted to try and put out mine. This, of course, did not work in the long term, but at the time, it was pretty devastating to hear that someone that was supposed to love you didn't believe in you at all. Again, something that would have been grounds for a breakup for anybody else with a normal level of self-esteem became me gaslighting myself into thinking, "Oh, I just need to prove myself to him. Then I'll be worthy in his eyes." And I felt kind of guilty that I had this dream and Mr. Husband didn't really have anything. So I tried to pry deeper in order to get something out of him, and the best he could come up with was he just wanted to get really shredded. Since I was his live-in GF, I also really wanted to prove that I was useful as a long-term partner. So this is how he goaded me into cooking for him 3 times a day. For years. Can't get jacked if you don't eat. So that was my problem now. If anyone ever asks me in my stream chat why I f***ing hate cooking so much and why I don't even do it for myself, and at times I resort to keeping a single block of cheese in my fridge in order to meet my nutritional needs, this is why. Cooking for Mr. Husband was interesting. If I didn't do it, he would guilt trip me. He'd languish in front of his computer like a starving African child and complain that his gains would be lost. And he wouldn't lift a finger to make something himself. And God forbid I ever burn or overcook something. If I did this, he would scream at me and call me a stupid bitch and I'd have to start over. So I had to cook it perfect every time, and holy shit, this man was picky. He actually hated eating, which was an interesting problem to have for somebody who wanted to be a bodybuilder so bad. So instead of, logically processing that one, he made it my problem. It was now my mission to figure out the kinds of things he liked eating. I remember one time he told me he really wanted homemade fried chicken, so I said,
Of course, honey.
and spent hours looking for the best fried chicken recipe online I could find and buying elaborate herbs and spices to, really impress a 23-year-old toddler. I brought him the fruits of my labor and then went to go prepare my own meal, which was not fried chicken. I was trying to eat really healthy at the time since I was on this fitness kick after all, and I didn't really want to slam a bunch of fried chicken down my gullet. So yeah, I wasn't just cooking 3 meals a day for him, I was cooking 3 meals a day for me. So a total of 6 different meals, because he never wanted to eat any of, like, the healthy stuff I was eating. So I came back to collect his plate and wash it. I also did all the housework. Didn't do jack shit. I looked at his plate. He peeled the battered skin off the chicken and only ate the meat inside. Perplexed, I asked, "Hey, sorry, was it not good?" "What do you mean? I ate it." No. You peeled the fried part off of the fried chicken." "What are you, stupid? Nobody eats that part." "Huh? Then what the hell did you have me fry it for?" "The skin is just there to lock in the flavor." I figured it was just maybe disgusting, and maybe he just did his best to eat what he could, but then I would later receive confirmation when I paid closer attention the next time he made me go get him Popeye's fried chicken. Did the exact same thing, and kept requesting Popeye's fried chicken anyway. Trying to figure out what Mr. Husband liked was difficult, to say the least, and this was something that extended beyond food. I wasn't really allowed to have interests outside of his. Like, if we were watching TV together, no anime allowed. It could only ever be stuff he liked, which was, what was that stupid show with, what was his goddamn name? Steve Buscemi? It was on HBO for a while. He made me watch a lot of that. I hated that show. It was the same with listening to music in the car or picking out if we were going somewhere. It was always his choice, and my opinion didn't really matter too much. He never really asked me. But what really hurt about Mr. Husband's enforcement of his opinions was his opinions on me, specifically about my appearance. You see, I wasn't even Mr. Husband's type. After I moved in with him, he made a point of reminding me daily that he would have preferred if I looked like somebody else entirely. Started slowly, just a few small suggestions like, "Oh, you should stop straightening your hair, it looks better curly," or "Wow, you're kinda pale, have you ever considered getting a tan?" to, "Yeah man, you're really tall and dumpy, your arms are too long and you look like an orangutan. You have a black person's nose and it looks weird on your face. Green eyes? Yeah, they make you look like a freak. I'd prefer if you had brown eyes. I think women with brown eyes are the prettiest. Dye your hair blonde, I need you to look like a bimbo for me. Stop wearing pajamas around the house, it makes you look frumpy and it makes me not want to have sex with you. You should dress up even though we're not going anywhere. No, actually, I prefer Southeast Asian women overall. I wish your skin was darker like my ex." Now there's a comment nobody wants to hear. Nobody wants to be compared to a failed relationship from the past, but that one was particularly interesting to me since, you know, I've never had that treatment before. So I pried further. Who was his ex? What did she look like? Why couldn't I compete with her? Was she prettier than me? Why wasn't I good enough? Didn't I tell you? Could've sworn I did. Yeah, my ex was trans. Pre-op. Still had the equipment. Yeah, honestly, I'd probably like you a lot more if you had a cock. That would make things a lot easier for me. Since for all the trans girls out there, if you've ever felt dysphoric about being pre-op, know that there has been at least one case of a cis girl who has wished to be you, and it was me. So yeah, there was no way I could compete with that. I really wasn't his type at all. The more this relationship progressed, the more I felt minimized, because there was just nothing I could do to ever feel worthy to him. And this affinity for trans women was particularly interesting, considering he was an ultra right-wing white supremacist Holocaust denier. And no, I don't mean the modern internet dilution of those terms, because maybe you told a spicy joke about black people or you liked an Asmongold clip and now everybody thinks you're literally Hitler. I mean, this man was actually a full-fledged Stormfront self-proclaimed Hitler sympathizer who would literally sit me down and make me watch really niche pro-Hitler propaganda documentaries that essentially amounted to, "Oh, actually, Hitler was a pretty nice guy, and he was actually really sympathetic and cool, and he was a vegetarian. Did you know he had a pet dog?" It started small. I watched it happen in real time. I watched as he gradually started browsing one of the newer boards on 4chan at the time, the infamous Poll. Now, I also used to browse Poll, and that's because I find edgy and offensive memes extremely funny. Don't clutch your pearls at me, it's not gonna work. So I didn't take anything on Pol too seriously. I was always just there for the memes and the shitposting. I mean, that's the whole slogan of B, isn't it? The stories and information posted here are artistic works of fiction and falsehood. Only a fool would take anything posted here as fact. Mr. Husband, however, took everything there extremely seriously, and he would end up self-radicalizing. And then, of course, he would push his beliefs onto me, and every time I tried to argue against it, it would result in a fight. He did anything he could do to make me feel stupid and start crying, and he absolutely could not be reasoned with. I'm not someone who has ever been particularly interested in politics, and I get pretty bored just reading the news, but this man was browsing Pol all hours of the day, and he became someone who lived to debate others just because he liked to feel smart about all the information he was able to parrot back. So basically, he had 4channer hardware running Redditor software, and it got to the point where he went full Holocaust denier, Hitler sympathizer, and he started blaming the Jews for every single thing wrong with him personally. Can't get a job? The Jews did it. Shit stains in my own pants? Well, it couldn't have been me, so obviously it was the Jews. I actually got worried that he would find out that I really liked Steven Universe at the time because Rebecca Sugar was Jewish, and I didn't think I was allowed. I know there are gonna be people in the comments saying that arguing about the exact number of Jewish casualties related to the Holocaust does not make you a monster, because literally every time I talk about this on stream, someone brings it up. This is not about that. This man straight up thought, 1, the Holocaust didn't happen, 2, it should have happened, and 3, Hitler was pretty cool and we should do the Holocaust for real this time. That'll fix society. Outside of the Hitler stuff, he would just absorb every single right-wing conspiracy theory he could get his hands on, and I wasn't allowed to argue about it. This included, but was not limited to, women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Women are inferior to men in general, gays are bad, climate change is not real, dinosaurs are not real, the Jews took your foreskin to control you, and space is fake. And if I didn't agree with this stuff, he would take me to his dad's house, who was also very boomer conservative, and then they would both grill me about it for literally 9 straight hours. I'm not exaggerating about this, by the way. It was literally a 9-hour... This is as close as we ever got to going on real dates. We would go to his dad's house, and then him and his dad would grill me on, like, in climate change or something, and until I cried while Fox News played in the background. So yeah, being really into trans girls kind of felt out of character for him, but I feel like it's also always the most conservative, homophobic people that end up secretly gay. I think if I were to play armchair psychologist about it and reflect about this several years later, I would just say he was some variety of gay. Maybe not all the way homosexual, but definitely not straight either, given his thirst for a certain unit that I didn't have. He didn't want to admit that to himself, and he found solace in right-wing extremism, which is the furthest you can get from accepting any sort of homosexuality, either in yourself or other people. So again, you're probably wondering, why didn't I leave him after all these very aggressive opinions? Well, cause I was f***ing stupid, man. I don't know what to tell you. I was really naive. The constant belittling kind of just made me feel like, oh, well, shit, this is it. This is as good as I'm ever going to get. I might as well fall in love with this guy even harder. Eventually, Mr. Husband would quit his job as a cab driver and I would get fired from Dunkin' Donuts, so he presented me with an ultimatum. Either A, go back to California alone, because I hate it there, and go chase your dreams as an artist or whatever, but count me out, and also, we're done. And also, I will Kurt Cobain myself if you do that. B, come with me to live in the deep south. We can live with my mom rent-free and do nothing all day. So obviously I went with him to Louisiana because I was afraid of losing him, and also he convinced me to stop talking to my parents while we were there so he could control me better. And this is where things really start to wear me down. I can handle a lot of psychological abuse, obviously, but dealing with biohazards is, you know, where I start to get a little tired. I know that guy on TikTok whose entire gimmick is that his room is absolutely disgusting and there's like cockroaches everywhere. I want you to close your eyes and imagine. Breathe in for 4, Hold for 4. Breathe out for 4. Imagine. Something 10 times worse. That was Mr. Husband's mom's house. Nothing could have prepared me for the level of filth I would go on to endure for the next 2 years. Mr. Husband's mom had a severe hoarding problem that she refused to acknowledge, and she never cleaned up after herself, and neither did she encourage her 2 other younger children to do so. So naturally, their house was an absolute war zone of random hoarded bullshit, dirty laundry, literal bags of trash, and cockroaches. Upon arriving there for the first time, I remember the distinct scent of excrement everywhere in the house. I had made a terrible mistake, and my devotion to this man would soon be tested. The first problem I encountered was that his mom refused to close the front door. This was of course how roaches got in, but there was a more sinister issue. Mosquitoes. I have the blood type that mosquitoes really like, so immediately upon my arrival at that house, there was a swarm of mosquitoes that followed me in specifically. Literally in our bedroom, there were several black patches on the ceiling that you could see that weren't like a painting job gone wrong, but rather clumps of mosquitoes waiting for me to go to bed so they could feast. Not only do mosquitoes really crave my blood, but I'm also really sensitive to their bites, so despite killing as many as I could before bed, I would always wake up with huge golf ball-sized itchy welts all over my skin. There was also this time where the family cat came home with an insane amount of fleas, and instead of using a flea and tick repellent, they just put the cat down. They just killed the cat because she had fleas. It was already too late. Fleas persisted in the house. There were so many that if you looked down on the ground at any time, that you could see hundreds of fleas flinging themselves around like popcorn in a hot pan. And guess who was the only one getting bit? Not a lot of humans can say that they've had fleas, but I sure can. The worst offending place in the house was the bathroom. There was one working bathroom and 5 people shared it. Often I would go in there to do my business and see that the youngest child had left their shit-streaked underwear on the floor as a nice appetizer for the unflushed turd lurking ominously in the toilet like an ambush predator. Or the middle child would leave her period-soaked pants sitting in the fucking sink for some reason. Perhaps worst of all was that it was a bathroom with no window ventilation and no fan, so it was always dank and moist in there, and the water heater was broken. So we at most got 5 minutes of scalding hot water followed by freezing cold. And there was a hair trap on the drain. That no one but me ever bothered to clean. I don't know what it is about the hair trap that fucks with me the most out of all of this. To this day, I get f***ed up taking showers, man. I can't, do it if it's a bathroom that's enclosed with a door and no ventilation window. I have to have a bathroom with no doors that ventilates really well, or I freak the f*** out. My skin begins to crawl, and of course, I begin dry heaving. Dude, just thinking about it is f***ing me up so hard. In no circumstances should there ever be a hair trap within 100 feet of me. Even if I see, a clean one for sale at the grocery store, I can't even look at those things. So what did Mr. Husband have to say about any of this? Nothing. He didn't want to talk to his mom about it, and him finding us a new place to live was out of the question because he didn't want to go back to work. And I wasn't allowed to get a job because I didn't have my own car, and I wasn't allowed to drive his car because women weren't good at driving. He told me to just clean up after everyone if I had such a huge problem with it. I wasn't paying rent after all, so I tried. One time I tried cleaning out their fridge because the refrigerator was not immune to the hoarding problem. It took 6 hours, and I'd never seen that much mold anywhere before. I found a fucking ketchup bottle from 1999. By the time I was done with the fridge, it was immaculate, like all of its sins had never existed. And you know what happened after that? His mom complained and said that I trashed all of the good food. You know, the moldy stuff that looked like any minute was gonna sprout legs and scurry away. That good food. So naturally that was the final straw, and I came to my senses and left, and I was rid of that roach-infested shitscape for good. I'm just f***ing with you, we got married. Mr. Husband finally got sick of sitting on his ass and playing Smite all day and wanted to get some sort of income that didn't involve begging his mom or getting me further into credit card debt, so he provided me with yet another ultimatum. You don't marry me, we can't stay together if I join the Air Force. If you try to pursue your dreams of becoming an artist, that's it for us. It's okay for me to pursue my dreams of becoming an airman though, because that's a real job. So this was basically how he proposed to me. No getting down on one knee, no ring, just, if you don't marry me, we can't stay together, that's it. There was, of course, no wedding. No celebration of any kind was had. We just went to the courthouse, and when the judge said, "You may now kiss the bride," Mr. Husband refused to kiss me in front of him. Classic Mr. Husband, I thought. He's just shy about public displays of affection. It's totally normal and healthy that some people just don't want to kiss in public or hold hands. And it's normal to walk 5 feet in front of me, so it looks like we're not together at all. Yeah. Pros of Mr. Husband going into the Air Force was we no longer had to live in the sewers with his mom and his siblings. The downside was I was now even further away from pursuing my dreams of applying to a California art school, because we were now stationed in Delaware, a state that I forgot existed. I hated Delaware. If you live in Delaware and you're watching this, you have my deepest sympathies, because holy shit, what a fucking nothing of a place to live. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, just a local Air Force base. I picked up an apprenticeship at a tattoo store because that was the closest I could get to becoming any sort of artist at all, but it just wasn't the same as what I really wanted to do at the time. Let's not talk about how my 3D modeling career would end up going. That's not my fault. I couldn't have predicted that. And this really started weighing down on me mentally because Mr. Husband had the night shift at the preparing airplanes to bomb children in third world countries for oil factory. So outside of the 2 burnout rednecks that I would socialize with at the tattoo parlor that were very obviously looking at my ass the entire time, I was completely alone. One time I did go visit my family though, after I was finally allowed to talk to them again. My stepmom took a picture of me hanging out with a few of my brothers and posted it on Facebook and tagged me in it. I was wearing a dress. Moments later my phone starts going off. It's a bunch of texts from Mr. Husband. Could it be? Does he finally miss me? You dirty f***ing whore, why are you wearing that dress? Who are all those men around you? You don't ever wear that shit outside of this house. You only wear outfits like that when you want me to f*** you. Well, at least that was the first time he ever made me feel wanted. Our living arrangements in Delaware were also starting to weigh heavily on Mr. Husband, and not because he was lonely and missing me, but because he hated his job. And honestly, no shade, I get it, but perhaps there are healthier options for when you want to decompress and rethink your employment options, as opposed to what Mr. Husband would end up doing instead. He started quoting Mein Kampf at work while throwing a tantrum and ripping off his shirt in front of his fellow airmen, and then he got sent to the mental hospital. This was on my birthday. I spent my birthday alone that year. Mr. Husband was becoming a powder keg. Every interaction was a fight. Every fight turned into something in the house that got destroyed. A few times he drop-kicked our trash can and then made me clean it up. He screamed at me for having never used a lawnmower before and asking him for help. I fainted at work and got sent to the ER, and he didn't come to pick me up. He didn't answer his phone, and this was before Uber and Lyft, so I had to hoof it in a town that I was still very unfamiliar with. I came home and he was playing World of Warcraft and ignoring all of my phone calls. One time he got so angry that he punched himself in the head and he left a massive swollen welt, and I was afraid I was gonna be next. And I'd f***ing had it with pretending that I enjoyed stenciling pictures of Marilyn Monroe onto the stomachs of obese rednecks. And I couldn't even vent to Mr. Husband about it because he said, and I quote, "Why would anybody care about your boring-ass day?" I was finally starting to feel just how one-sided this relationship was, so I started planning my escape. I had my parents call and book a hotel for me so he wouldn't overhear me doing it on my phone or see me doing it on my laptop. I waited for him to queue up for a raid in World of Warcraft. Or I think that's what it is. I don't f***ing know, I've never played that trash-ass game. Whatever it was he was doing, I knew he would be too distracted to pay any attention to me packing my bags hastily in front of him. I stuffed as much shit as I could into a duffel bag. I grabbed my entire 20-something pound unwieldy Wacom Cintiq and put it in a plastic bag and hoisted it over my shoulder. This video isn't, like, sponsored by Wacom or anything. I'm just saying they make some really sturdy shit. I've had that same tablet since 2015. I'm using the same one right now. You know, those things are indestructible, so I couldn't recommend them enough. By now, Mr. Husband had kind of caught on to what I was trying to do, but he was too preoccupied still with his raid, so I was able to waltz right out of the door and peel out of the driveway at Mach fuck without any problems. Well, except for one. See, we had 2 cars between us at this point, but they were both his, and he just let me borrow his truck, because he finally realized that, oh, maybe women can drive sometimes. So naturally, when your wife is packing up to leave you, you show your unyielding devotion to her by making a grand theft auto report against her to the police. By the time I made it to the hotel, the cops were already blowing up my phone. Luckily, all I had to do was tell the cops that, no, actually, I wasn't stealing his f***ing car. I was using it to get to the hotel to leave a very abusive man. And if you're curious, no. This is not where the story ends. I wouldn't go on to finally leave this guy for good for at least another year. He started blowing up my phone while I was in the airport. Obviously, when screaming at me and calling me a whore failed to bring me back over to eating out of his hands didn't work, he resorted to his favorite tactic. I'm gonna do it, okay? Give me your bank info. I'm gonna transfer all of my money to your account and you can have it. I won't need it where I'm going. This was happening in the airport over the phone. I remember it vividly. I was a sobbing, disheveled mess. My hair was tangled. I was binge eating airport cheese snacks while my husband was detailing the fun and exciting ways he was about to paint the walls red in our Delaware apartment. I had an entire 22 HD Wacom Cintiq strapped to my back like Guts' greatsword in Berserk, and people were looking at me wondering how a homeless 15-year-old boy made it through the TSA. I got on the plane anyway, but by the time I had arrived back at my mom's house, I'd already forgiven the man, and I told him he could follow me to California. And that he did, because he was able to get discharged from the military for being clearly mentally ill, and because of a injury that he suffered on the job. He wasn't injured on the job. He was ego lifting at the gym and permanently f***ed his back up doing a box squat improperly. I thought we could make it work because it was finally my turn to chase my dreams, and his dreams were kind of all over the f***ing place. Mr. Husband wouldn't have to work and he could be like my stay-at-home wife or something. I really should have been born a man. I'd be so good at being like a very masculine, loyal, devoted breadwinner. So, Mr. Husband actually hated the idea of me going to work and becoming a strong, independent woman of color who don't need no man. What a surprise! All that sweet talk he used to coax me back into not filing for divorce dissipated as soon as I got accepted into art school. Since the average workload of homework a week at Noman was like 80 hours, I could no longer afford to stay home and cook him 3 meals a day. So he had to go back to eating microwave slop and boiled hot dogs or whatever it is sewer goblins eat. And since he had less opportunities to control me when I was at class all the time, he made sure that my domestic home life was as miserable as possible. Every time I left the house, he made a point of starting a fight with me over text. He was sure to remind me that I was a fat whore. The stress of being with him caused me to gain all of my pre-husband chub back, and that I was terrible at being his wife and selfish for going to school. When I came home from class, it was like Russian roulette. I never knew what kind of bullshit I was gonna walk in on. If I took a particularly long time trying to get back home, like if it were finals week or something, he would pull a Joe Biden on me and start sniffing my hair. He would say in a completely serious tone, You smell like you cheated on me. Noman was a sausage fest for sure, but that didn't mean I was cramming down as much cock as I could get my hands on between classes. He was excessively afraid of infidelity for someone who kept trying to open our relationship. One time he showed me he had downloaded Tinder on his phone. Tinder was finally invented by 2016. Hooray! He told me to also download it so I could talk to other girls and then we could have a threesome because he was getting bored of only porking me all the time. Another time I came home and I told him the rent was due and that he needed to pay his half, and then he started screaming at me that, no, you stupid bitch, I did in fact pay my half. He definitely didn't, but I just went ahead and paid all of the rent for that month anyway because I wanted the screaming to stop. One time I asked him if I should buy, perhaps with my own money, a coffee table or a couch or something so our apartment could be a little less barren. All we had was my computer desk. He refused to get a desk for his computer. It was all propped up on boxes. When I suggested this, he promptly began screaming at me. No, I don't want any f***ing furniture in here. It's fine the way it is. Stop trying to clutter up the place with your bullshit. One time he got his own mattress from somewhere, and he set it up in the living room so he wouldn't have to sleep in the bedroom. The issue was our apartment only had one window unit air conditioner, and it was in the living room. And the bedroom had fucking nothing, so it got nasty hot at night. Great idea, but why didn't you move the main mattress in here? I wasn't allowed to get a bed frame. It was just a mattress on the floor. We lived in a gentrified dog kennel. I guess I'll go grab it so I can sleep in here. Don't f***ing dare move that mattress in here. This area is only for me! So ignoring the part where he didn't want to sleep in the same bed as me anymore, I had to MacGyver myself an air conditioner out of a styrofoam box with some holes cut into it, a desk fan, some duct tape, a bowl of ice, and some aluminum tube things, just so I wouldn't die of heat stroke in my sleep. This was really starting to get me down. I couldn't catch a break anywhere. Not at school, not at home. I didn't know where Mr. Husband ended and I began because I tried everything I could to make him happy, and this often resulted in me forsaking parts of my own identity, the parts of me that he didn't like, parts of me that were real but didn't fit into his projections of what he wanted me to be. And worst of all, I was starting to adopt the worst parts of him. Maybe he's right. Maybe women shouldn't get to vote, and global warming? Well, that can't be real. Antarctica is pretty cold, right? And don't even get me started on space. Like, the moon, Saturn. Like, just look at the hexagon on the North Pole of this thing. Who do you think put that there? But I still didn't want to give up on us. And why? Because Mr. Husband had done such a good job of convincing me that everything wrong in our relationship was my fault, and if I'd just tried a little bit harder, things wouldn't be like this. And I was both the type to totally believe that, and also someone who never gives up. It was only after I started making friends at school that I started to realize how bad things really were. At the end of every term, we would have finals week, and every finals week, Mr. Husband made a point of starting a huge f***ing fight in which he would threaten me with divorce in hopes I would get so stressed out that I would do poorly on my finals and then I'd get booted from the program. I'd usually have to spend finals week in a hotel or sleeping at my dad's office just to be able to focus through the psychological warfare. But I couldn't always keep it together when I was in class. I was pretty much always crying at school, especially during finals week. Usually I'd have to get up in front of class and present my work. And this is my final. It's not very good. And I was a little rushed with it, and it looks like you reused a lot of assets from old homework assignments. This was, of course, extremely embarrassing, but sometimes the best thing you can do is cry, because it gets the attention of other people who are trying to figure out what's wrong with you. Mr. Husband never had any empathy, but my classmates definitely did. Are you okay? You know, just typical married life stuff. You know how it is. My husband likes to kick me out of the apartment during finals week because he gets jealous that I don't spend enough time with him, you know, normal stuff. That's not normal, you know that, right? Like, you're just kidding? Huh? Gradually, over the course of a few months, I opened up more and more to my peers. Not because I finally felt safe or anything, but because I authentically sometimes did not know that the things that were happening to me were out of the ordinary, or, dare I say, emotionally abusive. I didn't have anything to compare this relationship to. This was my first one. I would just casually tell my classmates stuff during breaks, or if I were giving them rides home. Alright, see you tomorrow. I gotta head to the gym. You're working out this late? What? No. I gotta take a shower. What's wrong with the shower at your place? Oh, you know. It's currently infested with, like, a lot of big, slimy slugs. I asked my husband to take care of it because I can't, since I'm, like, so busy with all my schoolwork. But he said he can't also because the newest World of Warcraft expansion just came out. Eventually I got it through my thick fucking skull that this was an extremely toxic relationship, and no matter what I did, Mr. Husband would never change. You're probably wondering, why my parents never said anything about this. They did. Countless times. But that didn't work. My default setting is just to rebel against my parents at this point, and I thought they were just being really biased towards a guy that I thought loved me. I took an unbiased third party of my peers at school to tell me I was being a hard-headed fucking idiot. The final escape went similarly to how it did the first time I attempted, but now I was armed with something different. Hatred. 4 years wasted on this miserable piece of shit because he couldn't admit to himself that he might have been a little bit gay. I waited for him to get in the shower. I was angry, but I knew if I saw him crying, I'd come crawling back again. I'd grabbed as much shit as I possibly could and hightailed it the fuck out of the apartment that he wasn't even paying for. It would have been much harder to convince him to leave, so I decided to just peace out instead. My dad was waiting for me outside like a robbery getaway driver. I left a note for Mr. Husband and skedaddled, and then came the inevitable threats over the phone. I can't believe you would do this to me. You're so selfish. It's like you don't even care. Fine. It's okay, I get it. You know what I'm gonna do now? Do it. What? I said fucking do it, pussy! I'd started also seeing a therapist around this time, and she told me that somebody who is really committed to doing the unthinkable probably isn't gonna tell anybody about it, because they don't want someone getting in their way. It was just dry threats. Classic borderline personality disorder manipulation tactic. You stupid whore, fuck you and your stupid liberal friends poisoning your mind with the woke mind virus. I should have put a baby in you when I had the chance so you wouldn't be able to live. I was finally free. So how am I doing now? I've learned from my experience, right? And I'm finally with the man of my dreams, right? Nope. Currently single. Don't DM me, please. God damn it. Please don't DM me. I wish I could say that the self-respect that I gained from finally leaving was enough to carry me into future relationships that were healthy and fulfilling, but unfortunately this was only enough to allow me to avoid people who were staunch Holocaust deniers, and I'd have another 9 or so years of negative dating experiences because I kept dating people that I could not let go of, even when they were very bad for me. It's almost like I had a soft spot for people that I perceived as, you know, fixer-uppers, because I thought, if it were me, I'd love to be loved just as I was, flaws and all. Fortunately, real life is not Undertale, and there's no reward for doting on dudes that don't actually care about you, and they're just dating you because they like the alt-girl archetype, and they kinda just want you for your body. Usually they just dump you when they're bored. Now, I know that, and since becoming an online shitposter / content creator, my self-esteem couldn't be higher, actually. I get people telling me I'm cool and funny every day, and I finally believe them. And at this point, it would take an act of God to get me interested in dating again. Like, if he's not Robert Pattinson or Rick Astley, I don't want them. And I can already hear the keyboard warrior MGTOW redditors in the comments about to tell me that my standards are too high. So let me tell you something. If I do not get something that is Robert Pattinson or Rick Astley adjacent, I am totally cool with dying alone. I will not lower my standards ever again. I'm dating myself. I love myself. And there's nothing wrong with loving yourself. All this time I thought loving yourself was something you only did if you were an egotistical narcissist. That's not true in the slightest. You need self-love to create healthy boundaries. If you don't have healthy boundaries, you end up like that one fish in that children's storybook where everybody wants a shiny piece of his ass and he keeps giving it away until there's nothing left. Don't share the shiniest piece of your ass with people who don't deserve it. It's your ass, and you deserve it. And sharing is for communists. I know there's gonna be some butt muncher in the comments that's gonna say, oh, well, all these relationships went bad, and that means you're the lowest common denominator, so all of this is actually your fault. And it's also because you have piercings, and you dress like a goth girl, and so you attract toxic men. Bro, shut up, please. I swear to God. The lowest common denominator actually wasn't me. The lowest common denominator was all of these men played MOBAs. Don't date people who play MOBAs. If a guy says he plays Smite, or League of Legends, or World of Warcraft, or Overwatch, or anything like that, run. Girls too. Girls can also be toxic. This is not a gender war thing. Anyway, that was my spooky story campfire lore drop, and I hope you learned something from it. And I hope you stay safe out there in the dating world. YouTube wants me to work like a child in a sweatshop and slop out a video a week, but I ain't about to do that shit. So instead, there's like this new hype button somewhere, or at least there should be. Press it. It helps me take the time to make these videos at the quality that I want them to be. And you can always also, like, comment, subscribe, and like, comment, subscribe. So, see you next time. Bye-bye. I love you. Say it back. I say that because my ex-husband used to not say it back on purpose as a punishment. So that's the lore on the catchphrase.